Hello everyone. So in this video we will see the Python interview questions. Okay, so let's start. So the first is, what are some key features of Python? So Python is an interpreted language. It is not in the machine level code before runtime. Okay, and like Python, there are some other languages like JavaScript, R, PHP and Ruby, which are also the interpreted language. So basically it is not directly converting into the machine language because there is a Python virtual machine which converts it into a bytecode, and that bytecode then converts into the machine language. Okay, that's the reason it is mainly supported by all the platforms. Python is dynamically typed. This means that you don't need to state the type of the variable. So if you can see the example, I have given a equal to 20. I have not given integer a, but still when you say a equal to 20, it will set a as integer. It will set the type of a as integer. Okay, the similar way for floats and for the similar ways for the boolean, you just have to assign the value. After that, the type of it is determined by Python itself. In Python, functions are the first class object. And why we call it? Because functions can be returned from a other function can be passed on to the other function. Okay, and they can be assigned to a variable also. So that's the reason they are called the first class objects. What is the namespace in Python? So basically, namespace is a naming system which is used by Python to make sure that the names are unique and there is no conflicts between the different variables. Okay, you can think of a namespace as a dictionary which contains a key and a value, and a key can be a name of the object and a value can be the object itself or the reference of the object, and each key value pair maps a name to its corresponding object. Okay, so that's a concept in the Python which is a namespace. What is Python path? So Python path is an environmental variable which is used when the module is imported. Whenever a module is imported, Python path is also looked up to check for the presence of the imported modules in various directories. The interpreter uses it to determine which module to load. Fourth, what is PEP8 in Python? Or sometimes it also asks what is PEP in Python. So PEP stands for Python Enhanced Proposal. It is a set of rules that specify how to format the Python code for maximum readability. So basically it's a documentation which tells you some rules and regulation and what is the best way to write a Python code. Okay, for example, we don't have to specify L, O or I as a variable name, because if we say something like O equal to, by looking at the code it seems that we are making it as 0 equal to 2. So it's not readable and it's not not the best way to write a Python code. So it's just one rule, but there are many rules which is given in this documentation. So you can even go through the documentation detail if you want. What are Python packages? Okay, so if you know that in our computer there are different folders given, different directories are given, and the same way we have Python in that there are different folders and files, and to maintain all the code we create different packages. So if you see an example here, there's a package game here, then there is a package sound, image and level, and inside that there are different py files. So these py files are the modules which can contain functions, which can contain classes, which can contain different methods. Okay, and the unique thing about this package is inside a package there is a file called init. Okay, it's _init_.py. It tells the Python that this is a package. Okay, so in every package you will find this file. This file can be empty or you can even put some code in that, but basically this file tells Python that this is a package. Okay, how to import a package and its classes in Python? So there are different ways, but there are two main ways which are used. So if you see that we have given here import game.level.start. So game is a package, level is also a package, start is a module. Okay, and if you want to call some method inside this module, we say into the code we say game.level.start.select difficulty. Select difficulty is one of the method. Okay, but this is not a very convenient way, because you will see that we have to write the complete code here from the parent package to a sub package, then we have to write a function name. Okay, the other way is we can just write game from game.level. So if you see that above we have given import game.level.start, but here we can say from game.level import start, and if we do something like this, then we can directly use this module name .py name and then .select difficulty, which is one of the functions inside this. Okay, Seventh, what is module in Python? So as I have told you before that modules are the file containing the Python code. So this can contain functions, this can contain classes, this can contain variables, and it ends with .py file. So if you see that there's a calc.py file, and in that there is one addition class, there's one multiplication class, and this class can have different methods. Okay, so this is a .py file and this is a module in Python. Name some of the commonly used built-in modules in Python. So there are some built-in modules in Python, which like OS. We have to import OS if you want to perform some kind of operation from the system variable or the variables of the OS. We have a sys module, we have a math module, we have a random module, and we have a date time module which works with the date and time of the system. Okay, what is type conversion in Python? So in Python it is possible that to convert from one type to another. So we will see that. So there's an int, it converts any data type into the integer type. There's a tuple, it is used to convert it into a tuple. There's a set method, this function returns the type after converting to a set. Dict, this function is used to convert a tuple. So if you pass a tuple here, it will convert it into a dictionary. And then there's a string method, it used to convert integer to a string. So very simple way to do a typecasting of the variable. Okay, so this number 10, maybe this number is incorrect here. So is indentation required in Python? So indentation is necessary for Python. It specifies a block of code, and all code within the loops, classes, function, etc. specified within the indentation block. It usually done with 4 space characters. If your code is not intended necessarily, it will not execute accurately. So in Python basically we don't have curly braces or anything like that, but we have to indent our code to make sure that it is a particular block of a code which is executing. Okay, so always make sure that your classes are indented, your functions are indented. There's no curly braces like in Java which we use in Python. Okay,
so the next question, what is the use of pass keyword in Python? So the pass statement is used as a placeholder for future code, and it avoids getting an error when empty code is not allowed. So this is an example. So let's understand why do we write this. Sometimes what happens that when we write a function, we are not sure about the code which we have to write, and we leave it to the future developers which want to write a code or which want to inherit the complete object. In that case, we can write pass here. Okay, so basically it avoids to get an error when we are running our code from the interpreter. So this is the keyword which is used in Python. What is the difference between list and tuple in Python? So lists are mutable, they can be edited. Tuples are immutable, they cannot be edited. Okay, lists are slower than tuple, tuples are faster than list. Syntax, there's a bit difference. In list you have to give square bracket, in tuple you have to give round brackets. There can be different applications in which the list and tuple can be used, but it depends upon which application you want to use that. For example, let's say there's a dictionary in Python. In that case, the tuple may work, but the list will give an error. Why it gives an error? Because lists are mutable, they can be edited. But in dictionary, when we are giving a key and a value, we can use tuple as a key, but we cannot use list because tuples are immutable, they cannot be edited. Okay, so it depends upon an application. Where do you want to use a list or where do you want to use a tuple? Alright. Next question, what is the difference between Python array and list? See, both of the things are used to store the data which we can use in our program, but the basic difference is that in array we can use a similar type. For example, if there's an integer, it should always be an integer. If there is a float or double, all the values should be float or double. For example, if you see here, it says array.array and we have given I here. So that means everything which we write for an array should be a number. Okay, a number without a decimal point. Okay, and in the list there is no compulsion. So first value we have given 1, another value we have given string as an ABC, and then there is a float value we have given. So any value which you can give in your list. So that's the basic difference between the two. Okay, what are functions in Python? So function is a block of code which is executed only when it is called. To define a Python function, the def keyword is used. So you can see that the def keyword has been used, and we can write line of code and we can just call it this function from where you want. So basically it provides the reusability of the code. What is a lambda function? So lambda is nothing but anonymous function. In many of the language we recognize by anonymous function. Here we call it as lambda. In this you have to give a lambda keyword here. So if you see that in example, I've given a lambda keyword and then we have given the input x and y. And what does it do? It takes it and make it a sum. So I have given colon and x plus y, and this sum will get returned to a. So basically it's a sum function, and sum function is written in a form of a lambda. Okay, and whenever we want to call this sum function, we can just call print a56. And why it is written that? Because this function is not used by any other class, and we just want to call it as one. So instead of creating a different def function, we have just created a lambda function here and we are calling it here like this. Okay. How does break, continue and pass work? So whenever we want to break a loop on a certain condition, we use break. And whenever we want to pass the control of a loop onto the beginning of the loop, in between the loop, we call it as continue. For example, we have 10 lines of code within a loop. You are at line number 5 and there's some particular condition met, and you want that when this condition is met, you want to jump onto line number 1, then you can use continue there. Okay, and pass. So as I said, that pass is something which is basically to avoid any kind of error, and it's just go ahead and like there's no line of code there you can see. Okay, and it actually nothing happens when you call it. Okay, how can you randomize the item of a list in place in Python? So very good question this, and this is asked in many of the interviews which I have seen. So basically, if you want to randomize values in a list, you can use a random module. And how you can do that? Let's say there's an example, there's a list given here, x, and then you can just call this function shuffle. Okay, you pass this out, it will randomize the list for you. If you print it, you will see a randomized list after that. How do you write comments in Python? So very simple, we write just like this hash. So this is hash is used to write the comments in Python. Okay, if it's a multi-line comment, either you can write comments in the multi-line or you can use a docstring. So this is the docstring question. So how the docstring is written? Docstring is written using 3 triple quotes. So these kinds of things can also be done in Java when we write the Java docs. So there also we write some multi-lines of comments. So the same way we can use docstring and we can write multi-lines of comment here. Okay. What does len do? So len is basically a function to know the length of a string, a list or an array. So example, there's a string ABCD. If I print a length of that, it will say 4. So that's basically a length function too. So here is a question number 21. How you will convert a string to a lowercase? So it's a very simple method. To convert a string to a lowercase, we should use a lower function. Okay. So if you see that there's a string which is ABCD, and now what we are doing, we are printing string, but now we are using a method called lower, which is called by dot lower. And once you do that, you will see the output ABCD in small letters. So this is the way you use and you make any string as lowercase. Okay. Question number 22. Give an example of shuffle method. So what exactly is shuffle method? So shuffle method is basically a way through which we can shuffle characters of a string or an array. So it randomizes the items in an array. So if you see that it is a part of a random module, so we need to do import random. You will see here. Okay, and then we are giving a list here. We are printing a list in a normal way first, and then we are randomizing that list. So we will call random.shuffle. We call this shuffle method and we pass the list in this. And if you see a result, so in output you will see the list was printed normally like it do in the first time, but when we have shuffled it, you will see the list has been shuffled randomly. So this is useful when you're creating some games based on the Python. You can use this kind of method. Question number 23, what is swap case function in Python? Okay, so it is a string function which converts all the uppercase into the lowercase and all the lowercase into the uppercase. So you will see an example. So the string is it is in lowercase, okay, and now we are printing a swap case of that, and then we are typing it is in uppercase, and then again we are swapping it. So let's see what happened. So you will see that when we say it is in lowercase, so this has been converted to a lowercase altogether because this is everything is one capital letter, okay, and now when it is in the lowercase, it is making everything into the uppercase. So it is basically swapping its case. If it's in lowercase, it make it as an uppercase. If it's an uppercase, it make it as an lowercase. Simple. How to remove white space from a string in Python? So Python provides a method called strip through which we can remove a white space. Okay, if it removes it, it gives a new string to us, and if it does not, there's no space in that string, it gives the same string to us. Okay, so you will see that there's an example ABCD. So we have given one space before ABCD, then we have given a space before and after the ABCD, then we have given a space, a lot of space before ABCD, and once we call that string dot strip, it will go ahead and it will remove the space from that string. Okay. Next question, what are negative indexes and why are they used? So basically, whenever we give any or we create any list, we access the members through its index number, like we can access through number 1, 2, 0. But if you give a negative index, it does not mean that it will give you an error. If it give you a negative number, it will go to the last of the string. So you will see that there's a list here 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. If I say array ARR -1, so I'm accessing that number from the list. So you will see that I am getting 50, which is the last number in that list. And if I do -2, it says 40. So it does not give you any error. In other languages, you may get an error, but in Python, you do not get an error when you use a negative indexes. Number 26, what is dictionary in Python? So dictionary is a very simple way, you can say a type through which you can give key and a value. Okay, so you will see that there's a dictionary is given an example. So the key is country, the value is India, the key is capital, the value is Delhi, the key is PM, and the value is Modi. Okay, so what it happens that it provides a way through which we can store a key and a value pair into a dictionary, into a variable. Okay, and this is useful in many cases. For example, I can give you an example. Let's say you have to count how many characters are there in a string, common characters. For example, you can take any string like ice cream or something, and you want to count how many I are there in the string, then how many C are there in the string. So that can be possible through using the dictionary. So maybe I will show you an example in the code itself later on which do that. But dictionary is a way through which you can solve many puzzles in Python and many other languages also. You can solve those puzzles if you are using the dictionary properly. Okay. Alright, so if you see that in this example, we are printing a value. So we are saying dictionary.get, and we are giving a key here. So as soon as we give the key, it returns a value to us. Okay. So that's the beauty of dictionary. What are generators in Python? So generators are a normal function, but it returns a yield. So any value it returns from the statement yield instead of using a return keyword, because mainly in a function when you want to return a value, you just return it through a return statement. But generators are the function which returns a value through a yield statement, and you can return more than one yield also. But the only difference is, in the normal function, when something is returned, it immediately returns the things. But in this function which is generator, in those kinds of function, it returns an object which is of iterator. Okay, so that's mean it does not execute all the return functions at once. It only execute the return function one by one. So let's understand through an example. So here we have given a function which is my generator. So now we are printing first item and then we are yielding 10. Okay, then we are giving print second item and we are yielding 20. And then we are calling generator. So I am giving a variable gen, and then I am calling this function myGenerator, and then it returns, when I call this myGenerator function, it returns me an object of iterator. So whenever I want to access this return statement or this yield statement, I always have to type next, and then I have to give this variable name gen. Okay, so it will return the first item as 10 when I call next gen, and if I call next gen again, then it will return me the second item, which will print its second item yield 20. So we'll see that on every next gen, it will return me this statement of yield. Otherwise, my statement will get paused if I call it only next gen only. Okay, so this is the same way how iterator object at work. Whenever you call next gen, it return me one value from that list. So we also have a question for iterator in the coming pages. So you will see that what are Python iterators. So iterators are objects which can be traversed through or iterated upon. So I can traverse through any object. It can be a list, it can be a tuple, anything. So it has two methods basically. One is iter and one is next. So if you see that I have created one tuple which is apple, banana, cherry. Okay, so these are the value in the tuple. I have given this tuple into the iterator, and now it will return me an object. And if I want to access the values, I need to use next, and then I have to use that object here. Okay, so every time I am doing this next, and it will give me a next item there. So you might be thinking where it is useful. So it whenever we solve any kind of a complex program, and whenever we iterate through it by one line of a function or one line of a code, we have to use the iterator. Okay, so if you see that it has given me apple, banana, cherry one by one. What is pickling and unpickling? So basically pickling is also called as serialization, marshalling in Java, and many other languages it is done. So what it is, it converts a Python object into a string format, and then we can dump this string into a file. So it may be used that we have created one Python object and we want to transfer that file onto the network or onto some other PC. From that point of view, we convert that object onto a file. So that is called the pickling. Okay, and what is unpickling? The reverse way. For example, there is some file which is stored and we receive that file, then we want to convert that into a Python object, that is called unpickling. Okay, so what are pickling and unpickling example? So you will see that there is a list here, my list, and then what we are doing, we are converting it, we are pickling it. That means we are converting it into the string stream, and then we are dumping it into a file. So you will see with open. So this is the way we can open a file, that is data.pickle, and then we are opening that into a write mode. Okay, after that we are dumping pickle.dump, and then we are dumping this object my list into the file. Okay, so that's mean the pickling has been completed. So what it will do, it will create the data.pickle file in the current directory. Okay, so that's mean that we have converted an object into some stream, and that stream has converted into a file, and we are storing some files here some place. And if we want to retrieve that file, we will just do that data.pickle in the read-only mode, and after that we are loading that data, and then we are creating a Python object. Okay, and if I want to print that Python object, it will print me all the data. Okay, what does this mean? ARGS. So you can see there's a given star ARGS, and then double star, and then KW ARGS. And why do we use it? Okay, so mainly you can think about that when we are not sure how many variables a user can give onto a function, or how many arguments a user can give to a function, we can use that. In other languages, you have even seen that we are doing an overloading through which we are giving more than one parameters to a function. So a similar concept is there in Python, in which a user can give more than one arguments to a function, and it can accept that argument and give you the result. For example, I will show you here. So this is an example. You will see that there's a function called arg1 and there's a second argument. I have given star argv. It means that any user who is calling my fun, he has to give the first value, and then he can give as many values it wants. Like it can give another value, maybe it can give 2 to 3 values, and according to that this function can work. Okay, so you will see that in this function a user is given hello. Okay, after that it has given welcome, it has given 2, it has given Greek for geeks. So these kinds of examples are there. User can give more than one value also, but this function would work. So if you see the output here, it has printed the first argument is hello because I am printing it from here, first argument, and then I am creating a for loop, and in the for loop I am catching all the arguments which user has given, and I am giving this I am printing all the arguments which are there. Okay, another example I can take that maybe let's say you have created a sum function. Okay, in sum function you have given here value 1 and then you have given value 2 with a star. So what that means that any user who is calling the sum function has to give in the first value, that is compulsory because otherwise it will give you an error. For second function he can give one or more than one value. For example, he has given 2, 3, so this function will work. If he has given 2, 3, 4, 5, still this function will work because what I am doing, I have given star here. Okay, so the star means a user can give any number of the arguments to a sum function, and we can put a logic here like we have done here in the for loop. We can get each value of that star variable and then we can sum it with our first argument. So this is this kind of things which you can do ARGS. So now what is the purpose of double star which we have seen in the previous question? So let's see an example. Okay, so if you see that we have given, maybe I have just written wrong here, it should be double star, not triple star. So in here I have given double star keyword argument. So that's mean any user who is giving the function, they can give any number of arguments to this function, and they can give an argument in a way of a dictionary, or you can say a way of a keyword and value. So a user can give first equal to geeks, mid equal to for, last equal to, so he has given the value, but he has given the keys also for those value. On the basis of these keys I can put some logic here also. Okay, here I am just printing it for, you can see that I have printing %s equal to %s. So this is the formatting how we do it. You can give any simple way also, and I'm printing this key and a value here. Okay, but you can do many more logics on the basis of done by using a key and a value. As I have told you right now, there are many string functions, there are many things which you can many complex problems which you can resolve through dictionary. So this is the way you can give a keyword and a value to a function, and you can give any number of keywords and a value to a function. Okay. Okay, so how the files are deleted in Python. So to delete a file in Python, we use remove function, and remove function is a part of our OS module. So this is the example. We say import OS, and then we can say os.remove, and we can give a file name. And if it's some different path, you can give a file name, and you can just have a path name before the file name. How to add a value to a Python array? So very simple. There are 3 methods given. One is append, extend, and insert. So you will see an example. So we have given array.array d, so that means it's a double, and then we are giving 3 values here. So we have created it, and now we are appending it 3.4 in the end. So after 3.1, 3.4 will be appended, and then we are printing it. After that, we are also extending it with 4.5, 6.3, 6.8, and after that we are inserting it at the second place as 3.8. So you can see an output here. The first time it has appended 3.4. The second print has, if you can see that the list has been expanded, and in the third, as we have said that we want to insert 3.8 at the second position. So it is the first position, it is the 0th position, it is the first position, it is the second position. So its second position, it had inserted 3.8, and the other things has shifted to the right. So this is very simple way to extend any array or to append any values into the array. How to remove values to a Python array? So very simple, 2 methods, pop and remove. So pop will basically remove it and will show you the results also what it has been removed. In remove you will not see that. So if you see that I have given a.pop here, so what it will do, it will remove the last value, and when I give a.pop3, that's mean I want to remove from the index number 3. Okay, and I'm printing it also because I know this will return me the value which is getting deleted. And if I say a.remove 1.1, so 1.1 is a value which I can directly give. So instead of that index number which I've given in the pop, I can give a value into the remove, and it will remove it and it will not return me anything. So if you see there in the output, when I have removed the first a.pop, it has removed 4.6, returned me 4.6, which I can print. When I say print a pop 3, I have given the index number 3, so that is 3.1. It has removed 3.1 and it has printed that because it has returned me 3.1. In this a.remove 1.1, which I am giving directly the value, it does not return me anything. I am printing a list. It print a list without 1.1 because it has been deleted. So very simple. What are decorators in Python? Okay, so see, decorators in Python are also one kind of a function, and by using that you can manipulate an existing function. For example, there is some function which has been written by someone, okay, and I don't have an access for that, so I cannot make directly a change in that. But decorator is a way through which I can create some new function. I can call that the other function which has been created. I can manipulate some of the things and I can make my other function. So this is the way decorators are used. Okay, what is the difference between py and pyc files? So basically there are two files in Python. So py files is a Python file where we write our source code, and pyc file, it contains the bytecode. Okay, so whenever we go ahead and compile our program, it gives a bytecode to us that is into the pyc file. So whenever we try to run our program, the interpreter always looks for if there's already an existing pyc file, it go ahead and run that. But if it's not there, it go to the source file, convert it to the pyc file, and then it execute it, which may take some time, maybe not noticeable, but yes, this is the way the py file is get converted into the pyc file and then it get executed. What is slicing in Python? So slicing is very simple way to retrieve some elements from an existing list or a string. So we have to give start index, end index, and if we want to jump for some of the steps. So you will see that we have given this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. We are printing a numbers, and here we are slicing it. How? We have given the list name here, and now I am giving index number 1 colon index number 9. And then I am saying you can jump on 2. So from index number 1 to 9, it will go ahead and it will jump and it will give me some results. So we'll see that it has given me 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, so it's basically I am retrieving the data from a given list by the use of slicing. Okay. So what are Python literals? So literal can be defined as the data which is given in a variable or a constant. So you can see some examples like string, numeric, boolean. These are the Python literals. Why do we use join function in Python? So join is basically a function which is used to join two strings, or you can say concatenate. So I've given an example here, learn in automation. If I say string 1 dot join string 2, and if I print string true, I will see a joined strings here. Okay. What are the different file processing modes supported by Python? As we have seen that we have a read, write mode. So let's see what are the modes supported by Python. So R is used to open a file in read-only mode. W is used to open a file in write-only mode. A is used to open a file in append mode. And RW is used to open in read and write mode. Okay. What is the usage of enumerate function in Python? So enumerate function is used to iterate through a sequence and retrieve the index and the value. So you will see that if I given a list here, let's say this is a list, Python, Java, C++, it's a list. And if I have given a for loop, in the for loop, I am just saying iv in enumerate. So it will basically give me the index number and the value. So if you see the output here, it gives me 0 Python, 1 Java, 2 C++. So same way, to resolve some programming issues or to resolve some complex program in Python,
we can make the use of enumerate. What are keywords in Python? So keywords in Python are the reserved words. So there are total 33 keywords in Python. So this is a list like false, none, true, and, assert, except, import, pass. So we have seen yield or return. So we have seen all these kinds of keywords. So these are the keywords which are used in Python. Okay. What is with statement? So with statement in Python is used in exception handling. A file can be opened and closed while executing a block of code containing with the with statement without using a close function. It makes the code much more easy to read. How our classes are created in Python? So it's very simple. You just give a keyword class, then you have given a class name, and then you have to give a colon. Okay. After that, you can put all your logic here. You can put the your method's name here. You can put the variable name there, and this is how your class are created. Okay. What is init? So init is basically a constructor. So if you can see in other languages like Java, there is a constructor which initialize some values of a class. So init is also a way through which we can initialize a value. So we have given here def init into the class, and we are initializing name, age, and salary through this init. And when we are creating an object, if you see that I've created an object E1 and I am calling this class so that E1 is created, I've given 3 values, and these 3 values get stored into this name, age, salary variable of this employee object. And if I want, I can just go ahead and print this like E1.name, E1.age, or I can do some much more complex programming. But this is where the constructor are used to initialize the values of a class. What is self in Python? So basically self is a reference of an object of a class. So whenever you create some kind of a method, you will directly see that the first argument it passes is a self. So basically this self is a way through which you can go ahead and access that class itself. So if you see here also, let me show in the previous example, here it is given when this constructor is created, the first object is self by default. The first variable or argument is a self by default. And if I say that self.name, it's mean that employee class. So I'm talking about employee.name. So it will create one new variable and it will store here. And if I want to go ahead within this class, I want to retrieve this variable associated with this employee class, I can also say self.name and it will retrieve that out. So basically self is a reference of that object. Okay, so let me go forward. All right. So next question, how to overload constructors in Python? So in Python, constructor, as I said, that it is used through an init keyword. It is the first method of a class. And whenever you try to instantiate an object, the init is automatically invoked. Okay. In Python, you cannot overload a constructor method. So you need to remember that, and it always show you an error if you do that. Does Python make the use of specifier? Yes, but it make it through some way. So if you see that, if you give a single underscore, it will become a protected class attribute. Okay, so any variable, if you give it a single quote, that become protected. That's mean that the class itself and its child can access that. But if you give a double quote before a variable name, that's mean it become a private member. Only that class can go ahead and access that member. The other classes, the other child classes cannot access that out. Okay, so this is the way achieved through a single score and double score. Alright, so thank you for watching this video. I hope that this series was useful and will help you to crack the Python interviews. So I have covered here all the basic questions which are there in Python, and that will help you up when you are giving the interviews. But make it sure, just don't make a habit just to go through that questions. You always have to practice, and you always have to see all the other materials of Python if you want to success in the Python career. Alright, so thank you for watching this video. Have a great day.